Hello, we are live. I sound terrible. I'm sorry. I am sick. I just didn't want to reschedule this because the further we go out, the harder it's going to be for me to remember things. But we're going to be talking about Grady Hendrix's newest book, How to Sell a Haunted House. And I hope everyone had a chance to read it this month. I finished it a couple of days ago, and I really, really enjoyed this. So if you're popping in, come say hi and let's chat about the book. So, like I said, I am sick. I'm doing my best here. I have tea, I have cough drops, I have taken some cough syrup. So, hopefully, I can get through this without dying. But I get sick every year in November. I don't know what it is. This changing of the seasons, just my body doesn't enjoy it. Okay, so so let me just start with my initial thoughts. This book worked really well for me. I gave this like 4.5, 5 stars. It's like hovering right in between 4.5 and 5, only because I feel like I was slightly deceived in a way. Like this wasn't really a haunted house book, even though it's called How to Sell a Haunted House. I feel like maybe this doesn't quite fit the haunted house category. But that's just me nitpicking it. Like I overall really enjoyed it. So let me know what you guys thought of it. I'm very curious because I'm wondering if this is a polarizing book because it's definitely weird. I definitely felt like maybe this is something that not everybody would enjoy. Like this is like pretty standard Grady Hendrix. Hi Laura. Yeah, he's definitely a horror comedy guy. I feel like the majority of his books would fall into that category of being like lighthearted, kind of silly horror. And this definitely felt like that. I'm going to set this behind me. Hopefully I don't knock it down on the floor again. There, he can be creeping over the couch. Okay, so I wrote down notes. Where did I put them? Excuse me. Oh my God. I'm going to get through this video, I swear. I wouldn't let myself postpone it because I'm just scared that I won't remember anything from the book. So, let's see. What do I want to talk about? So like I said, my initial rating is like a 4.5, 5, because I really liked it. I don't know. This worked really well for me. I felt it was fun and lighthearted, but also really pulled on my emotions. Like, I don't know about anybody else, but I cried at the end. I don't know. Maybe it was just being so wrung out by the whole story overall, but just by the end of the book, the last like couple of pages, I cried. So it really did hit me right in my heart. So like, but first I want to ask, like, does anyone else feel like this was not a haunted house book? Because I feel like the haunted house genre can be kind of loosely played with sometimes. I've read books that were called a haunted house book, but they didn't really feel like a haunted house once I read it. And this is one of those books where, is this really a haunted house? I don't know. Laura says it could have been a little more horror-y. I agree that there are moments that he could have gone a little harder, but but I still enjoyed it. Like, I feel like his books are definitely more horror comedy, and they're definitely more light horror, which is why I pick him for book club, because I feel like maybe not everyone wants to read the full-on horror that I might want to read. So I want to try to pick things that are a little more like accessible to everybody. And I feel like Grady Hendrix is a lot more accessible to people who aren't ready to dive full on into horror, because it feels more like, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it. Like it's like very almost kid-friendly horror, if that's, I don't know. I don't know if kid-friendly is the right word, because this did go a little harder than I expected it to in places. Like there's a lot more gore than I think I've read in a Grady Hendrix book. I'm trying to think back. I've read almost everything he's written, and I think this might be the goriest book he's written. The chainsaw scene took me a little bit by surprise, just how gross it was. So like definitely a lot more body horror than I expected, but also I enjoyed it. Okay, I want to talk about characters because the Louise and Mark, that was my favorite thing in this whole book. Okay, I have a younger brother, and we did not at all get along growing up, and I don't know, we can get along now, and we're nicer to each other now, but thrown into a situation like this, I wonder how quickly it would devolve because like we hated each other when we were kids and we fought constantly. So like the Louise and Mark relationship felt real to me. Like I felt like they were very similar to my brother and I. And so I loved reading about their relationship, and I'm like, what, the way they were just like, I hate you, but I really do love you because you're the only one that understands this. But also, oh my God, I never want to talk to you again. Like, I just love that. I felt like he really captured what a brother-sister relationship looks like and feels like. I have no idea if Grady Hendrix has siblings. I have to imagine he must because of how realistic that was. I feel like it could probably be hard to write if you're not familiar with that. But like I found their relationship to be my favorite part of the book. And I don't know, I just loved that. I love that she got to chop his arm off with a chainsaw and then have to play it off like it was an accident. He accidentally did it. I don't know. That whole sequence was so gross and so much fun to read. So I loved that. I don't know how I feel about Pumpkin. So let me know how you felt about Pumpkin. I don't like dolls as the portent of evil. Like I don't feel threatened by a doll. And I found it hard to find Pumpkin to be scary. I mean, he did write it well, but I listened to the audiobook and the Pumpkin voice was maybe the most annoying thing I've ever heard. So I don't know how I feel about Pumpkin as the evil villain of the story. Ooh, Laura, yeah. I was thinking about Thistlefoot while I was reading this because I'm like, oh, we've read another brother-sister relationship before. I agree that, yeah, I can't remember the brother's name in Thistlefoot at all, but I agree they were similar, just in that they're very self-centered and very focused on what their life is and what they're dealing with, and less so on the people around them. Excuse me, I'm doing my best. Okay, so give me a second. I'm going to get it together. By the time I got to the end of the book, I had forgotten entirely about the mother having a dead brother. So that took me by surprise. I didn't see it coming because I'd already forgotten about that. Because I was trying to read the book more slowly since I had to start it earlier because I got the audiobook sooner than I expected. So I was trying to go slow, which means that I forget things. So I had forgotten all about the brother being a thing, but I did really like the way that Grady Hendrix uses generational trauma. I love a dysfunctional family story. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. Just reading about like how all these family secrets can cause all these problems. I thought that was really interesting. A really interesting way to go about telling the story. And using Pumpkin, using this obnoxious little puppet to do that was just so clever, but also so annoying. Like, I'm still like on the fence. Is this really a haunted house? Or is this, I think the only way you can get away with calling it a haunted house is because the child was buried in the yard. But even so, is that a haunted house? Because if it's a haunted house, how did Pupkin manage to go all the way across the country to Poppy? So to me, this is not a haunted house book. And I feel like that's why I can't quite go full 5 stars, because I feel like it's teasing. It's not quite right. And it makes you think you're getting one thing when you're getting another. I had no idea. I knew that there was something to do with dolls, but I had no idea that it was going to be a doll book. So I felt like not caught off guard, but like not expecting that. So I don't know. I'm still not sure how I feel about that. I don't know. Dolls are weird and creepy, and I don't like them, but I also struggle with the idea of an evil doll, because I just think, how scary could it possibly be? Like, you can overpower a doll. I don't know. What else did I write down? Okay. So what I loved about the story, I really loved that this was really more about grief and trauma than anything else. Like, that's the gist of the book, honestly, was like dealing with the loss of parents, dealing with the aftermath of like losing loved ones, having to deal with a sibling that you don't get along with. And I all of that stuff. I loved all of it. I also really loved the weird aunt. Like, what was it? Aunt Honey and Barb and Aunt Gail and all those characters. I love that. I love that Grady Hendrix's books all feel so Southern. Like, I miss the South sometimes. So getting to read his books feels a little bit like going home, even though I'm not from Charleston. I'm not from that part of the South, but like, it still feels similar. So I enjoyed that part of the story a lot. I loved how like kooky the family was. I enjoy all of that. So much fun to read his stories because of things like all those little characters. I don't know. He does that really well. I feel like all of his books have these really interesting side characters that I almost wish could have their whole book dedicated to them. So like, I really enjoyed that. Like I said, I love the sibling relationship. I loved the body horror and that kind of stuff. I love how funny it was. This book was hilarious. The whole thing with the puppet troupe that Mark was a part of, did anyone else find that absolutely ridiculously hilarious? Like, I laughed that whole, like, what are you guys doing? Like, their weird communist puppet theater that they went in elementary. Like, what are they doing? How did they get invited to an elementary school? I found that so silly. Yeah, I kind of forgot about the ex-husband, or was it ex-husband or ex-boyfriend? I don't know. I kind of forgot about him as a character by the end of the book, because he really only appears at the first half, I guess. But yeah, he was kind of annoying, and I felt like we could have done without him. Yeah, that whole puppet theater, the whole part where Mark is telling his story felt so like disconnected from the rest of the book, and I don't know if we needed all of that. Like, it was silly. I don't know. I'm on the fence with that. Like, on the one hand, I found it hilarious. On the other hand, I was like, why are we here? What possibly could we be getting out of this? Does it need to be here? I don't know. I feel like this book needed a teensy bit more editing, which is annoying because, like, I know this book was supposed to come out last year in, like, I don't know, October. I think this was supposed to be an October release in 2022, but it got pushed back to January because he wanted to take more time working on it. So I'm like, you still could have taken a smidge more time. Yeah. I want to reread it sometime because I feel like I'm going to get more out of it on a reread. I don't know. I really enjoyed it though. This book was so much fun. Um, so much more fun than I expected. I didn't love his last book, The Final Girl Support Group. It was fine, but not as good as I wanted it to be. So I'm glad that I read this one and it topped that. I should do a video sometime ranking Grady Hendrix books because I think I've read everything except his nonfiction. I haven't read Paperbacks from Hell, but I own it. I should probably try to read it. I've browsed it a few times, but I've never committed to like reading the whole thing straight through. Other than that, I think I've read all of his fiction. And I've enjoyed all of it. I just didn't love the last one. I'm struggling even to remember what the plot was. I know it was Final Girls something. It just wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. But yeah, I don't know. This book worked so well for me. I really liked the conclusion. I thought the end of this book was really good. It made me cry. The last like little bit, just I don't know, it really hit me hard. I've never lost a parent. It's one of those things that it's like been a big fear of mine most of my life was that my parents were going to die. I don't know why. This is just something that sits in the back of my head since I was a kid. And so thinking about that makes me feel kind of anxious. And I didn't know how that was going to work for me in this book, if that was going to be a trigger for me, if I was going to get like really upset. And I think the fact that it was so lighthearted, I think if this book was more serious in tone, it might have affected me very differently. But because it was kind of a lighthearted, fun read, it didn't hurt as much as I thought it would. But the end, that last little bit where they smell their father's baked, what was it, stolen or something like that. I don't know what that is. I'm assuming it's some kind of a Danish cooking in the kitchen. Oh, I don't know. That really hit me and made me cry. So, yeah. I just think Grady's really good at writing really emotional, fun stories. Like somehow they're both emotional and upsetting while being really fun and lighthearted. And I don't know how he balances that so well because he does that in almost all of his books where it's like really emotionally upsetting and like you're really worried about the characters and that kind of thing. But at the same time, you're laughing. And I don't know. That's like a special talent because I don't know how he does it. Okay, what else did I write down? I have like my little notes that I took. I think I've covered almost everything. So yeah, let me know, what was your rating? Like, how did you rate this? Did you give it out of 1 to 5 stars? What was your rating? I'm still sitting at that 4.5. And that half star is because it made me cry. Otherwise, this would have been a solid 4, but because I cried, it's 4.5. So this was our last book of the year. I don't know. I feel like we had a really good reading year. We had a lot of really good reads this year. Yeah, I was gonna hold on. Let me I keep in my bullet journal, I have a page where I track all of the books we read over the year and my ratings. So we read 10 books, and of those 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 were 5 stars. That doesn't usually happen. So to have that many 5-star reads this year, I don't know. I'm I'm happy with that. I think we had a really good year for reading together. I'm really excited. I wasn't sure if I should announce it now or wait, but I'm excited to tell you guys that we're going to have a co-host next year. I'm excited about it. I've missed having Sarah here. When I started this book club, it was sort of me and Sarah doing it together. And when Sarah left to go live in Korea, I was kind of like, oh, I could do this by myself. But I really don't love doing it by myself as much as I love having someone to talk to, like live, and having another person to chat with in person. So starting in January, when we come back together again, I will be having a co-host. It's going to be Tanya from Project Happy Home. She and I have been friends for a few years now online, and we talk frequently about books and things. So I invited her to co-host with me, and she said yes. I'm excited about that. So we have that to look forward to in January. I'm also going to be announcing what we'll be reading in a few months' time. What is it? I have to have that in December, because obviously we're going to want to be ready for January. So I'm going to announce the next reads in December, what we'll be reading for the first part of the year anyway. So that's something to look forward to. And I'm also going to be doing a video probably this month, honestly. I don't know when, but sometime this month probably, where I rank all the books we read this year. So I did that last year and I really had a fun time, like figuring out my ranking. So it's going to be hard this year though, because I had so many 5 stars, and like everything else was a 4-star. I think I only had one book that I didn't really like. And I bet you could probably all guess it, because I think we almost all felt the same way. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I had one book that was like a 3-star, and everything else is a 5 or a 4. So that's going to be hard to rank, but I'm going to try. So I have that coming out in a few weeks time. I don't know. I don't, we'll see when I'm not sick anymore, because this is a challenge. I hate how I sound right now. I don't know. I sound terrible. So I'm going to hopefully get over this, whatever this is, soon, and I can get back into filming and stuff. So when I do, I'm going to rank, because, oh my gosh, and I don't even know what my favorite book we read was. I'm looking at my list right now and I'm like, okay, who's my standout? I think I know. What was your favorite? You guys tell me, what was your favorite book we read this year? Because I am undecided. I have 2. No. I have 3 contenders for favorite, and I don't know how to decide. So that's something I need to think about. I guess it's a good thing I'm not able to film this video today. Ooh, yeah. Take My Hand was really, really good. That was definitely a really awesome book club selection. Like I'm so glad I picked that. Do you want me to tell you all the books we read? Because yeah, if I didn't have it listed here, I would never remember it either. We read A Scatter of Light by Melinda Lowe. We read Take My Hand, The German Wife, Thistlefoot, Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. We read Under the Whispering Door, Wayward, Babel, Stone Blind, and How to Sell a Haunted House. So we read some really good books this year. Some of my favorite books of the year were book club reads. So like, I don't know, it was a really good reading year. And I'm so glad that you guys read along with me and came along for the journey. Under the Whispering Door is up there for me. That is one of my absolute favorites. Any book that can make me cry that hard gets a 5-star rating. If a book hurts me that much, then I love it forever. So yeah, that book messed me up. I cried so hard reading Under the Whispering Door. So, yeah. Excuse me. I am a mess today. I'm sorry. I almost wanted to postpone this, but then I was just like, no, I'll forget everything that happened in the book. I've already forgotten enough of it. I don't want to forget the rest of it too. Also, it's the time of year for me to wear my "When You're Dead Inside, but It's the Holidays" shirt. Oh, unpopular opinion. I didn't enjoy The Nightingale. That's Crystal Hannah, right? Kristen Hannah? Yeah. Didn't I DNF'd it. I'm sorry. Maybe someday I'll give it another go, but I don't know. I don't think I like Kristen Hannah's writing style because I picked up another book at the library once and I don't even remember what it was now. And I ended up DNFing that one too. So, no. It always makes me feel bad when I see people talk about their favorite books and they were books that I DNF'd or didn't like. I'm like, oh no, now I'm feeling guilty somehow for not liking a book somebody else liked. It's silly. I don't know why I'm like this. And I don't think Firefly Lane was the one I picked up. I don't remember what it was. I don't know. I'll probably never remember it either. Maybe it was Alone or something like. Was that one of her books? I don't know. I don't remember. I don't know what my favorite book of the year was yet. I have to figure that out soon. All that end of the year stuff, having to figure out how many books I read, what were my favorites, all the categories and things. It's a lot to think about. I have not read that yet, A House with Good Bones. I've heard a lot of good things about it. It's definitely on my list of books I want to get to at some point, but I don't know when. I don't own it, so. I have another book that T. Kingfisher wrote, The Twisted Ones, that was very weird. And I don't know. I still don't know how I feel about that one. The Great Alone, that might have been it. I don't know. But I don't enjoy their writing style. It just doesn't work for me, I guess. I do love a good wacky story, so maybe I should pick up A House with Good Bones. I think my next horror adventure this past month was all haunted houses. I think I'm going to do coming of age horror next because that's generally my favorite kind of horror. I really enjoy cozy horror where it's like children growing up. I don't know. Coming of age horror is one of my favorite things ever. And so I feel like the holiday season is a good time for that kind of stuff because I don't love Christmas. I don't like the holiday season. I don't know. Something happened to me. I had a traumatic experience several years ago during Christmas, and I don't do Christmas anymore. I don't like it. So I've been trying to come up with things to pump me up and cheer me up. And I think reading some coming of age horror. I'm going to do a cough drop. Oh my gosh. I was trying to avoid these because I feel like it's rude, but I'm dying. I feel like coming of age horror really works for me. It's just very cozy. And I don't know how to explain that, but I find it very calming and soothing and relaxing. I don't know. I'm weird. But I think that will help get me through the holiday season. So I think that's my plan for the next 2 months is to read a bunch of coming of age horror. So yeah. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up because I think I'm done. I've been giving it my best, but I feel really tired right now. So I'm going to go take a nap. And so like I said, I'm going to be doing a video wrapping up our reading year and ranking all the books we read. I'm going to be sharing our book club selections in December for the first like 3 or 4 months of the year. So stay tuned for all of that. Elsa says, what are some of the good coming of age horror you've read? Okay. I don't know if it really counts as coming of age horror. I think it does. But what is it called? Paul Tremblay's book. What is it called? The one about the possession. Head Full of Ghosts. That's what it is. I really liked A Head Full of Ghosts. To me, that's coming of age horror. Stephen King's It is classic coming of age horror. He also has The Institute, which falls under that. Basically, coming of age horror for me is just any book where you're following children who are like going through it and growing up through the experience. So that kind of story. But yeah, Head Full of Ghosts is really good. Like Stephen King's It and The Institute are excellent. I'm trying to think. I will come up with a list for you guys because there's more that I've read. That's like my favorite kind of horror. And I'm just like, my brain's not with it right now. So I will be sharing some more. I might do a video talking about my favorite coming of age horror before I do a bunch more reading. So why don't I plan for that? And that way I can answer your question in a better, coherent way. So thanks so much for coming and hanging out with me. I've had a lot of fun reading with you guys this year. I'm so glad that I have this book club. It's so much fun for me to like have someone to talk to about the books in real time because I feel like I read so much on my own. Reading is such a solitary experience. It's so much fun to be able to do it with other people. So thanks so much for hanging out and reading with me, and I will see you guys next time. Happy reading. Bye.